What's up? Hope you're doing good. So let's get into a little story. I wanted to tell you a little bit story about a walk through London. Now, I wanted to talk about this story a little bit because I am currently working on what is now a series within both of these books. First edition, second edition. I'll explain a little bit why there are two editions. But I am currently working on a new book called A Walk Through Hong Kong, and I did not expect this book to be a series. I think a lot of writers, authors, novelists, when they have this idea for a story and they sit down and they're at their typewriter or their notebook or their laptop or MacBook, and when they begin to write this story, I don't think a lot of writers, when they go into it thinking that this is going to be more than just one book. As far as the characters, like we're going to follow them along through several books, or I'll change the character, but it'll still be within the same series, within the same world of this book. I don't think a lot of authors think that way. It is possible that someone like a J.K. Rowling, when she first wrote Harry Potter, had that idea of it was going to be more than just one book. But I don't think authors, writers, novelists, when they go into writing that book, I don't think they believe it's going to be a series of books. And I didn't think that when I wrote A Walk Through London. I thought A Walk Through London was going to be what it was. So first, I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine. Her name is Vicky. She's from England, and she is a bit of my inspiration, a bit of my muse for how and why I wrote A Walk Through London. So let me explain. It was 2019, and 2019 was already a pretty bad year for me. My father had died in the beginning of the year. In January of 2019, my father passed away. In February of 2019, I got pneumonia, and then the school that I was working for at that time as a preschool teacher closed down. And by the time we got into the spring and summer, I was already following this girl on at the time it was called Twitter. And she was a wrestling fan, still is a wrestling fan. But as someone who is a wrestling fan, finding that community at the time, Twitter was good. It was fun because we were able to talk about what was happening on Raw, on SmackDown, on the pay-per-views, which are now called PLEs. And it was fun just to talk and hash it out and stuff. But I was really drawn to this girl that I was following on TikTok because she was funny, and I just wanted to get to know her a little bit more, start a friendship with her. I knew it couldn't be any more than a friendship because we are from two different countries, and I take something from the movie She's Out of My League. I saw her as someone way out of my league, but for just to have a friendship and talk about wrestling was cool. So we started talking back and forth. Her name is Vicky, and we started a friendship, and that started in the spring of 2019, really, and it continued to grow through the spring into the summer, and then by between September and November of 2019, I live in California, in Northern California. I live in Santa Rosa. I'm originally from Sonoma, California, and Glen Ellen, California as well. As a kid, I moved back and forth between Sonoma and Glen Ellen at the time. And in California, we have an electric company called PG&E. And in 2019, PG&E was very careful when it came to the wind, to the speed of the wind here. And so in 2019, in the area in Santa Rosa I was still live actually, PG&E thought it was a safe idea to turn off the power in case the wind was too strong and would knock down any power lines or anything like that. Now, the wind in Los Angeles, the Santa Ana winds, is no joke. The wind here can be strong, but it's not as strong as the winds in Los Angeles, the Santa Ana winds. But for 2019, the winds were particularly strong that year, especially lower elevations near where I live. So PG&E turned off the power. So there was a lot less distractions in that time when PG&E would constantly turn out the power in those few months in 2019. So I was writing a lot more in 2019. I was still personally going through a lot mentally and emotionally, and still mourning my father. So I was a complete wreck. But one of the good things that came out of 2019 was my friendship with Vicky. So I thank her for that. But I remember talking to her and telling her that I am going to write a story about a character who goes to London. And she was like, okay. But the way she said okay, it sounded like she didn't believe me. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I got something to prove to her, that I can write a story about a character who goes to London, or a character from London, and someone who has never left this country. I have traveled across this country of America. I've been to different places across this country in America, but I've never actually left this country. I've never actually gone to another country like Paris or Rome or London. And I would love to go to London someday. But anyway, so when I started writing this story, the first character that I thought of was I would have a character from London. And Vicky was that inspiration for that character, that muse for that character. The character name in A Walk Through London, her name is Sophia. And she is also a wrestling fan like Vicky was, but I wanted the character to still be my own creation of everything. I wanted some little bits that fit into who I knew Vicky to be, based on pictures and how we would talk on WhatsApp. Anyway, so little bits there, but the character Sophia is from London, who is a primary school teacher, and she had a boyfriend named Jacob who owned his own garage, which is how Sophia and Jacob met. When she ran into a bit of car trouble, that's how they met, at his garage when her car got towed there. And their relationship flourished from there after a first date, and it kind of grew from there. And then Jacob tragically dies in a horrible explosion from a natural gas store that is a couple buildings from where his garage is. And when that natural gas museum store blows up, and engulfs most of the neighborhood, and it takes that garage with it. So that's how Jacob passed away, and tragically passed away. So I have this character Sophia, who is going through her own tragedy, and then there is a character that I wanted from America. Originally, the story was called The American, and it's a story about a character named James, who is a successful enough writer who loves pro wrestling. So I put a little bit of my stuff in there as far as the being a writer aspect of it and loving pro wrestling of it. And then I gave him a best friend who is named Jennifer, who he's known since high school, freshman year of high school, and they've been friends ever since. And the inspiration for the friend Jennifer really comes from a close friend that I've known since 2014, when I got my first job as a preschool teacher at a school called Beth Ami, which was part of a synagogue. And it was a Jewish preschool, and I worked there, and that's where I met Amanda. And that's a close friend of mine. Her name is Amanda, and we became close friends. So and I've known her ever since. Long time. It's been a little over 10 years, like 12, 13 years, I believe. But I based that character Jennifer on her, as far as Jennifer was a director of a preschool, and how they would talk to each other on the phone is kind of how Amanda and I would talk to each other on the phone. I mean, Amanda and I haven't talked on the phone in a while, because she's got her own life, and she's going through. So completely understandable how life kind of works out at times. But anyway, so anyway, that's how the character Jennifer was kind of based off of a little bit. So James, anyway, has a girlfriend named Lisa, and he catches his girlfriend Lisa cheating on him after he goes to her house to surprise her with asking her if they want to live together. And he had this whole thing planned out where he was going to take her to her favorite restaurant in San Francisco. I should also note that A Walk Through London, it starts in Northern California in Sonoma County, mostly between Rona Park and Santa Rosa. And you really get a feel that you're in Rona Park and Santa Rosa based how to describe everything in that time. And then also a little bit into San Francisco as well. So James wanted to take Lisa to this steakhouse on the Embarcadero in San Francisco. And the place where you sit, the steakhouse, you get a great view of the Bay Bridge from where you would sit. Excuse me. So James catches Lisa cheating on him. He goes through his own, sadness, anger, all of it kind of in those few days. Finally, he gets out of bed, packs a suitcase, grabs his passport, goes to the airport, the Santa Rosa airport, mind you, and asks the person in the front counter, what's the first flight that gets me out of town to anywhere? And the list and the closest flight the next flight out of town was a flight that was connecting from San Francisco to London. And James didn't even think about it. He just said, I'll take it, buys the ticket, flies to San Francisco. From San Francisco, he gets on another connecting flight, and he goes to London. He gets to London, and as the character gets to London, you start to feel, the way I do my best to describe it, not ever being from London, but describing it like you're in London, describing real places in London, like Radio Rooftop, like the hotel he stays at, the name of some of the places that Sophia goes to in the like the coffee shop that she goes to in the morning to get her usual coffee and espresso chocolate cookie, the name of the school she works for, the streets that James eventually walks down as he walks through London and visits museums, Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, all of it. You really feel like it's there. And then even after James and Sophia accidentally meet by bumping into each other, James bumps into Sophia's table, and it kind of slowly builds from there. And everything that happens within the span of the week. And they go to the countryside, Kensington. They go to the countryside, and they visit a museum over there, which is an author who wrote books like Big Friendly Giant. They have like this museum dedicated to him there of characters from books that he wrote. So you really go on this adventure with James and Sophia as they, within a week, fall in love with each other, and then tragedy happens again. And that is where a second edition comes in, because there's a first edition of how it goes, and then the second edition leaves the story feeling very different from what you read, and makes you really think about the story that you just read. I don't think I'm explaining it right. So basically what I'm trying to say is that the first edition is completely different from the second edition, and the second edition makes, if you have read the first edition, reading the second edition makes you feel like you read a completely different story after getting to the end of the second edition. And it's very hard, because I want to tell you what the ending is, but if I tell you the ending, then you're not going to want to read it. But so it's just two different endings for both first and second edition. I'm very proud of both endings, but honestly, I love the ending to the second edition a little bit more. So I really do. and I'm very proud of how it all really came out. So in writing a walk through London, I really thought that was going to be it. And then a week ago, I had this dialogue for these two characters named Tommy and Amanda, who meet in Hong Kong. And it's a story that I knew I was going to set in Hong Kong, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. And then as I started writing it, like just the first beginnings of it, as we start with Tommy in America, in Los Angeles, working for a advertising company in Los Angeles called Spicy Tribe, I began to, within just writing a little bit for Tommy in the beginning of it, and then a little bit in the beginning for Amanda in Hong Kong, I started to see the vision a little bit more clearer that this is actually a walk through Hong Kong. And then when I was thinking of the name for it, the first name that came to me, like, what if I just call this a walk through Hong Kong? And I'm like, there it is. I was like, there it is. This is going to be the second book in this series of a walk through London. And I won't even call, and now moving forward, I just would call it a walkthrough series, where now it just feels like I have London, I'm working on Hong Kong, and then just taking a love story of these two people and how they meet in very different ways, different characters for each book, different scenarios for each book, taking place in different countries. Whether I haven't done one for America yet, but I might do one for America in the near future, but maybe like Paris, or like somewhere like, maybe like Paris could be the next place, or going to, I don't know, Cuba or Colombia, something like that. I wouldn't know where to go next. Those are ideas for the future, but right now, a walk through Hong Kong, that's where I'm at, and really making you feel like you're in these countries, which I'm currently in the middle of doing. And right now, where I'm at in this story, and what I can just tell you right off the bat, is that Tommy got a promotion. That promotion meant moving to a different country, to the Spicy Tribe office in Hong Kong. That's where he moves. Eventually, in his building, that's where he meets Amanda. And Amanda, I know it's the name of my friend. It's the name of my close friend, but it just felt right to call her that name for this particular, the character that name for this particular story. So the character Amanda, who is a veterinarian, has a best friend named Sharon, who works in tech. And eventually, when Amanda and Tommy meet, they meet in the same apartment building in an elevator, and their friendship, they begin to start a little bit friendship, but Amanda wants to show Tommy around when she talks to Tommy and realizes Tommy hasn't really gotten out. His full name is Thomas Drake, but Tommy wants to get, Tommy is still kind of set in his ways of not really being able to get out, not really feeling comfortable still after a month of being in Hong Kong, and Amanda wants to change that. So she plans a day out where she's going to show him around a few places around Hong Kong to help Tommy feel a lot more comfortable. And that's where I'm at right now currently, as far as writing the story, as far as writing the book, where I'm at, where right now Amanda is showing Tommy around Hong Kong. And right now Tommy's having a good time in what Amanda is showing him around Hong Kong. But that's all I have for a walk through Hong Kong at the moment. But that is really how I came up with this idea for a walk through London. It was a friend of mine named Vicky from England, who became this inspiration of wanting to write a story that takes place in a different country, something I'd never done before. This was the first time I did something like that. And I have Vicky to thank for that, for being that inspiration, that muse for the character that grew into the story that it became. So shout out to Vicky one more time. Thank you for that. And this has been a little story time about a walk through London. Thanks for watching. Thanks for reading. The link is in my bio if you want to check out a walk through London, either first or second edition, or even both. But I'm Anthony K. Thomas. Thanks for watching again. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to the AKT Publishing channel right here. Keep up when I drop new content, like story time about the different books I have. When I sit right in this position right here in the back of my car and do something called backseat reading, where I do a reading from a book that is currently available now. Right now, I'm in the middle of finishing up a book that I put out back in January called Darkness. Previous episodes of Backseat Reading for Darkness is available on this channel if you want to check it out. And also here, where I talk about a story called Matthew, a Toy Story prequel, in which I'm trying to get the attention of the president of Pixar, Jim Morris, and those from Pixar as well. And also talking about Matthew, a Toy Story prequel, what it's about, and all that good stuff. So those videos are up there too. And leave a comment, hit that like button too, and thanks again for watching, and I will see you all for another edition of Storytime in the near future when I talk about another book. So take care of yourselves. Peace, y'all.